Good morning to all. I welcome you all to this webinar. This is the second webinar which we are organizing. And the second webinar is on the topic of practical aspects of arbitration in insurance. This webinar is being organized by ASEAN Institute of Insurance and Risk Management in association with SADRE. And today we are in this webinar. Those who had attended the last webinar for them and those who are joining this webinar for the first time, we'd like to tell them that how arbitration works in insurance, and those who will be interested in becoming arbitrators for insurance, what exactly they will have to do. I hope that today's webinar will be useful for you, and it will be opening the way for people who want to become arbitrators as far as insurance is concerned. I have with us some very eminent persons from the insurance as well as the legal sector, and they'll be talking to you by and by. I have with us Mr. Asadullah Pasha. Asadullah Pasha is the chairman of SADRE. SADRE meaning the Society for Alternative Dispute Resolution and Education, Hyderabad. He has a long career in the legal side, almost 5 decades. And he has his own firm, Pasha and Company Advocates at Hyderabad. He had been in construction also, and he is basically, a legal expert, but he has interest in many fields. Plus, he's a sportsman also. He's a golfer of repute. He is a member of the International Center for Alternative Dispute Resolution. He's on the panel, and of course, he is the chairman of SADRE also. And he has been associated with various educational institutions. He's got his own educational society. And he was also on the Insurance Advisory Board of the Insurance Regulatory Development Authority of India. I'm very happy that his institution is associated with us. We are honored to have him with us, and I'll request Mr. Pasha to kindly address you all, to kindly give the welcome address. I'll now hand over to Mr. Pasha.
Thank you, Mr. Wahab. It's kind of you to have introduced me. I would just like to briefly welcome all the participants that are attending this conference. This webinar has been organized by AIIRM and SADRE jointly. AIIRM is an organization which started about 17 years ago and is doing wonderfully well. They are, I believe, as far as insurance is concerned, because no other organization in India has got such talented people who are from the insurance field, who have come under one umbrella to promote insurance and the various fields of insurance, not only in life, but in general insurance and health insurance. So these are some of the things that ASEAN Institute will do under AIIRM. And you will find that the speakers that we have lined up for you today are extremely wonderful people in their field, and they will be able to guide you, and later on you can ask questions to them and they will be able to answer your queries also. SADRE is an organization which was started about 7 years ago in Hyderabad by a large forum of students or people who have been in various fields of different jobs and different occupations and professions. They all passed out from NALSA in arbitration, course. And they all got together and formed Sadre. I am the chairman of that. And I have been practicing law now for 10 years. And I'm the chairman. We've been conducting courses in arbitration. And we would like to continue the courses that we're doing with the Association of ASEAN. ASEAN is also doing courses in insurance in Jamia Hamdard as an MBA course. That is a feather to their cap. And wish you all the best to listen to this webinar and enrich yourselves. Thank you very much. Mr. Vijay to take over, please.
Masood? Okay.
Before Mr. Vijay takes over, I'd like to introduce Mr. Vijay. Mr. Vijay is going to moderate today's session, as well as he's our speaker also. And he's an insurance professional with about 4 decades of experience in the field. And he retired from United India Insurance Company, where he was holding joint additional charge of the chairman and managing director post. At present, he is a freelancer, writer, trainer, consultant, and also director of MD India Networks and MD India TPA. Mr. Vijay is also a writer. He has written many articles in journals and periodicals of repute on subjects like finance, taxation, general matters, insurance, and also has co-authored a book on sales tax. So he has a multifaceted personality, I would say, especially in the area of finance, especially in insurance. And I'm very happy that he is here today with us. He is moderating the session. He is eminently qualified to do that with very talented and very eminent speakers who are there. So I'll now request him to kindly take over the session. Mr. Vijay, please.
Thank you, Mr. Masood. Thank you for the introduction. And fellow participants and panelists, a very good morning to all of you to this webinar, the second in the series. The first one was on insurance and arbitration. That was the theme, and this is a more specific one on practical aspects of insurance. Arbitration has been in a lot of news of late, and when you have the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos, fighting with the richest man of India, Mukesh Ambani, I think their interest is but inevitable. I'm referring to the deal of Reliance with the Future Group involving about 24,000 and odd crores, where an arbitrator in Singapore has given an interim award directing that this agreement cannot be gone ahead with. Now, Future Group is moving the court, while Amazon is trying to get it implemented. As if this is not the only one. A few months back, we had this Vodafone arbitration case, which again about 20,000 crores was involved. And there again, there has been an award against, in favor of Vodafone. The government is planning to contest that. So obviously arbitration is a major system which is in force and which is there across the world and is in use. Why is arbitration important? And the reason is very simple, that our courts are groaning under the load of cases. And cases are taking inordinately long time to get settled despite the best of efforts from the honorable judges. It keeps piling up. And the reason is very simple. Just to share a few statistics, UK, which has a population of about 6.5 crores, has 560 judges per crore of population. USA, which has a population of 32 crores, has got about 1020 judges per every crore. India, with a population of close to 135 crores, has just about 180 judges per crore. And when the existing systems which were there have all gone into disuse, like the panchayats and other things, which used to take care of most of these disputes, when that is not having that kind of force which was there earlier, it is but natural that the courts are loaded with cases. And courts are now finding out ways and means by which quick settlements can take place, whether by way of lok adalats or whether by way of conciliation. Arbitration has emerged as a major area whereby this can happen and is being taken up seriously. And that's perhaps the reason why there have been so many changes in the law also. Till from 1940 to 1996, practically there was not much of change in the law. Then in 1996, the law was amended and then a new act came in. And 2005, again amended, 2015, and then again 2019, 2020. Now last week there has been an amendment. So the government is also keen to see that arbitration is made into a major system of dispute redressal. And before we get into the details, there are two aspects we'll be discussing in. One is, of course, insurance and what is happening in the insurance industry, the different types of redressals which are there, systems which are there. And the second is arbitration per se. What are the highlights in arbitration? We have with us Dr. Mallikarjun, who is now an academician teaching insurance, banking, and corporate laws. He has worked with two regulators, the Reserve Bank of India and with AIIRM. He is a PhD from the National Law School, a certified associate of the Indian Institute of Bankers, and a fellow both in life and general from the Insurance Institute of India. Now, he will be talking about grievance redressal systems in the insurance industry. I was just reminded that a few years back I was reading a news item where a wife in Germany had filed a case against her husband because he was too perfect. He was taking care of everything. Now that is something which she found as not conducive for her married relationship, and she decided to go in for divorce. So being perfect is also no recourse, but then our systems, and in insurance especially, systems are not all that perfect. There is a lot of grievances which happen, and this industry also has come up with various systems of grievance handling. And I would request Mr. Dr. Mallikarjun, to talk about the grievance redressal systems prevalent in the insurance industry. Over to you, Doctor.
Thank you very much and good morning, everybody. So I'll be covering about 2 or 3 aspects here. The first, to give a setting to it, I will want to indicate that insurance is a mechanism of risk protection, and it is risk protection by risk financing, where the risk is handed over to an insurer who will manage it on behalf of the person. What the person benefits out of it is he is free from the risk. If there is any loss, he will be compensated. Depending upon the kind of risk that is there, you could have life insurance, general insurance, and health insurance, where the problem is living or dying early or living too long, getting unhealthy in case of health insurance, or protecting the property or reputation, which is also a part of property. So this is as far as insurance. Then why do you need a regulation? Because there is a lot of public fund which is flowing as premium, you need to have regulation. Then why do you have policyholder protection? You need to have policyholder protection because the money that is there and the trust in these institutions who are providing credit, providing cover has to be retained. And the amount of funds that these institutions have is massive. And to ensure that these funds are not misutilized, you need to have a regulation. And simultaneously, you need to also have a regulation to ensure that the ultimate beneficiaries, who are the policyholders, benefit out of the products, and they are able to be protected against the risk, which is the primary purpose. For this purpose, a separate regulator was introduced in 1999 through the Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority Act. And the purpose of the act is basically to provide protection to policyholders' interest and development of insurance market. And one of the important regulations which deals with grievances and also measures for protection of policyholders' interest is the IRDA regulations called Protection of Policyholders Interest Regulation. So all the amount of protection that an insurer is supposed to take, an intermediary is supposed to take, etc., during the continuance of the policy. Before the policy is sold, at the time of sale of the policy, that is in the proposal stage, the terms and conditions and the contents that are supposed to be there in the policy document. Then an option of free look where your what your agent or your intermediary told you, if it is not possible, if it is not matching with the policy document that you receive, you can give it back. So this is a protection that is provided through the regulations. And finally, what is the timeline for claim management? Then the grievance redressal mechanism that is supposed to be there and the institutionalized mechanism within the country, all this are specified in these regulations. So that is an important aspect that we need to bear in mind. And the other thing is, since these entities are basically dealing with the insurance business, the board's participation in policyholder protection is also intended to be brought about. So that is the reason why board is supposed to come out with a policy relating to procedure of handling complaints. They are supposed to provide the timelines, or what you call as turnaround times, TATs, for various services that they are going to be provided. And finally, they are also supposed to give their commitment in terms of promoting insurance awareness, because the amount of insurance penetration is low. And then to prevent mis-selling and unfair business practices. So all this mandate is covered by the policyholder protection guideline. From this stem the internal grievance redressal mechanism. So if there is a service that is promised and it is not delivered within the timelines that is there, and the ultimate service that someone would want to have is have their claim settled, and also have their claim settled and the amount paid to them within time. So all this is provided for. If this service is not provided, the person will have a complaint. And this complaint, where do they give that first? First, every insurance company is supposed to have a grievance officer. So that grievance officer is supposed to handle the complaints. If he is not in a position to solve the complaint, there has to be a mechanism for escalation. So the regulations mandate that every company has a grievance redressal officer at the senior level, at the corporate level, so that if the ground level functionary is not in a position to solve, it can be escalated to this person and finally he resolves. The IT system which is supposed to be there is also to be specified, and this system has to be linked with the regulator IRDA's integrated grievance management system, so that the follow-up and the efficiency of the internal systems in terms of handling of grievances can be monitored by the regulator straight. Then once this channel is not effective, the alternative that is available is people can escalate the complaint through to IRDA, but IRDA does not do retail complaint handling. So what it does is it forwards and it facilitates resolution by the insurance. So I am at my own end, I am rejecting a complaint. Now I am sending it to the regulator. So regulator sends it, and that gives added pressure on the insurer so that he will be in a position to take more care in terms of dealing with the complaint. And if that still does not get resolved, then the alternative options have to be adopted. Now, when I talk about alternative options, the first option is the insurance ombudsman system that has been introduced in 1998. The scheme has been modified in 2017. This is an inexpensive, that is, no fee is provided, expeditious. If all the insurance, there are 17 insurance ombudsmen across the country, appointed from the judiciary, from the insurance sector, from the civil services and administrative services. So these people adopt a summary procedure, so it is expeditious. No fee, because you can file a complaint through a written paper. There is no fee that is there. Then since the summary procedure is adopted, it becomes very fast. So the complaint which is unresolved has to be raised to the insurance ombudsman. He can mediate if both the parties agree. And if the parties don't agree, then based on the facts of the case, based on the submissions that are made by both the parties in the complaint and the response, the decision, which is an award, will be given, or the complaint could be rejected. If it is an award and the complainant accepts it in full and final settlement, the insurance company is bound to comply with it. If it is rejected, then the complainant will have to approach alternate forum. So now this is another alternative forum. What is the other alternative forum? The Consumer Protection Act is there, where he as a consumer, insurance provider is a service provider as far as the Consumer Protection Act is concerned. So the various fora which are there, depending upon the pecuniary jurisdiction, you have the district forum, state forum, and the national forum. As far as insurance ombudsman is concerned, the pecuniary jurisdiction is 30 lakhs. With the change in 2019, the pecuniary jurisdiction for a district forum is 1 crore, then for a state forum it is 10 crore, and finally for the national forum. So these mechanisms can be adopted. The problem with the Consumer Protection Court is that it takes a longer time, and the forums may not be in a position to have the expertise relating to the domain of insurance. So you are trusting more based on the legalities of it, and it could be long drawn. And the provisions, multiple provisions of appeal which are there, finally one will lose and the other will win, and there is a bad taste that is left. So to deal with this and to have a mechanism where there is another alternative which is faster than the court is having the arbitration, and that is where arbitration is a very important part. And the provision for arbitration is generally found in the form of a clause in the insurance contract itself, and arbitration can serve the effective mechanism, basically not for those which can be handled by the insurance ombudsman, but those which are in the nature of commercial policies where the pecuniary jurisdiction is more than 30 and there is a commercial transaction that is there. Those kind of cases can be taken up through arbitration. So we have other speakers who will be talking about the arbitration process. So thank you, sir.
Thank you, Doctor. We have a senior general counsel with us, who is an international arbitrator and a trainer, Mr. JLN Murthy. He has over 20 years of experience as a general counsel and is an arbitrator on the panel of various bodies. He is also the secretary of the Hyderabad Regional Center and the regional in charge of ICDAR. Mr. Murthy, what is the status of arbitration in India and the rest of the world? Mr. Murthy? Mr. Murthy, are you able to? Right, till we are able to access him, Dr. Mallikarjun, I had a question. What is the state of grievances what is the status of grievances in the insurance industry?
In the insurance industry, you have various grievances. You have grievances and non-life grievances. So the entire data relating to grievances are available on the website of Insurance Regulatory and Development Authority. So based on the annual report that is there of IRDA, the total amount of grievances that are there are close to 2 lakh grievances, and 2,06,025 grievances are the total grievances, both life and non-life. So Mr. Murthy has joined in. And the amount of complaints in relation to previous year, there is a slight increase of about 3,000 to 4,000 complaints. But 2 lakh complaints is relatively huge considering the level of insurance and the penetration that is there. In the grievances, we have 1,60,000 of life complaints and about 42,000 complaints from the general insurance side. You're on mute, sir.
Yeah, I'm open. Are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
We lost contact with you. I don't know whether you could listen to the introduction and the question. The question which I had raised was, what is the status of arbitration in India and the rest of the world? Would you like to share your thoughts on it?
Yeah, first let me thank the organizers AIIRM and my parent organization SADARE for giving an opportunity to join this August gathering. Basically, your question is very important at this juncture of the current decade, and the process of arbitration had a failure of 1996 Arbitration and Conciliation Act. There were many teething problems were there, and these teething problems has made people, companies, corporates, individuals, everybody was lost faith in the arbitration. But the current scenario and the current government has quickly, looking at the economic reforms brought earlier in early 90s, to take the handhold in that and take the investments in India. The government got also certain pressures from multinational companies and very specifically the insurance sector also. The avenue of arbitration government has looked into through Niti Aayog was they want to make India as a arbitrational hub for the entire world. The challenge was very good, and looking at the challenge, they have got into the recent changes and amendments in the arbitration side to take out the teething problems whatever they have and bring it back to the people the faith in arbitration. They brought 2015, 2019 and recently on 4th November 2020 amendments. Very specifically, this particular amendments they brought to bring on the faith. Like for example, if you see the South Asian regional arbitration centers, Singapore, Hong Kong, Malaysia, Indonesia, all these are very small countries, but they have very strong arbitration. People initially go for the arbitration or mediation and then get into the court litigation purpose. That is why they are flourishing in the economic side also. Now, if we look back, the recent changes in the government side also on the Arbitration Act, they particularly brought the timelines, because earlier there used to be years together it is to take for any arbitration in India when it is being conducted the proceedings. So now they have brought the timelines very specifically for 1 year. That means any arbitration which is started should take off after the initial changing of the contents, claims and counterclaims. After that, 1 full year time was given to complete the arbitration proceedings, max to max 18 months. So this timelines has given more strength, and also the recent 2020 and 2019, the appointment of arbitrator has become 30 days. Earlier it used to be 60 days. Even the courts have shown faith in the arbitrational institutions like SADARE, ICADR, ICA. There are many more. Around 33 arbitration centers are there in India. I would like to share very frankly with you, the insurance sector was largely neglected on the arbitration side usage. Very specifically, the IRDA after New Delhi High Court directions in the Oriental Insurance Company Limited, Government Tool Room and Training Center 2008 judgment. In that, they have asked, the High Court has asked the insurance companies to take the major cases in the insurance sector through the arbitration. Very specifically, Sterling Insurance Company Limited versus Lala Bahalai Rampuri, Mayadas Bhagat versus Commercial Union Insurance. Like that, many more are there, which have just initiated very specifically in the general insurance. The government side, public sectors were able to concentrate on usage of arbitration. Anyhow, the ombudsman, whatever we have in the insurance sector is much useful, because most of the time there is a mediation in that. But the IRDA has taken a challenge and they are bringing in phase-wise the changes. Very important. During this particular phenomena, the 2015 amendment had added a valuation, very specifically reducing the cost. They have given a model cost in the Amendment Act. This model cost has given parameters slab-wise for the claim amount, whatever they have. Maybe the insurance sector have few circulars for this. And this particular area where the cost-wise, if people are very clear that whether to go for an arbitration or not, whether to go in these claims or whether to adopt this particular arbitration in the policies, whatever the insurance IRDA is having, and various other things. So this has given a good focus for the people also to adopt. At the same time, they have also increased the transparency. That means the transparency in the sense, like earlier when an arbitrator has been appointed, there was a doubt of partiality and impartiality. So there were declarations, a 7th schedule has been brought into the Arbitration and Amendment Act, and this particular schedule have few disclosures. Means a person who is accepting as an arbitrator, he should not have more than 3 cases within last span of 3 years with that company. He should have not given a public opinion, legal opinion. He should have not contested or argued any case on that particular company. Or if the person who is appointed as an arbitrator has 1 share in that insurance company, all these things, the partiality and impartiality clarity has come very in a wider length, and this particular clarity has given more confidence also people to take an arbitrator with a clean mind, so that after getting the arbitration award, it can be implemented very easily, so that the section 34 contest will be avoided. So these are the very important transparency, and also the person who is working in that particular public sector cannot himself become an arbitrator unless and until they have a clearance through Niti Aayog or through Parliament and Rajya Sabha. So these kind of a clarities has given more transparency within a company, insurance company. If he is working as a general manager, he cannot become an arbitrator for that particular arbitration proceedings. He can take from another insurance company as an arbitrator who is equally qualified, but we cannot take him as an arbitrator in the arbitral tribunal. So these are the wide transparencies which have given more and very specifically more encouragement for usage of arbitration, and the timelines which were brought from International Bar Association has given more strengthening, because this may be a very strong step government could have taken to implement the 1 year and 1.5 year completion of the arbitration. But when we had 246th Law Commission discussion, we thought that we should go with a stringent timelines and other things, so that in due course we can loosen the things, we can also change the timelines, so that once people get confidence in the arbitration side. Another very important provisions where they have intervention of judicial courts have stopped. That means for any termination of any contract or any litigation, when it comes or a claim comes, in this scenario, everyone used to go to the court because the BG is encashed by the public sectors or insurance company. So in this scenario, the intervention of the court has minimized, and under section 17, they have given powers, equal powers. The court has given equal powers to the arbitrator tribunal only, so that the arbitrator, whether to grant the stay or not, he can take without causing inconvenience for the loser claimant. So timelines and this particular avenue, by giving a power to the arbitral tribunal, has given more strengthening in the arbitration usage, so that people need not wait for years together to argue before the arbitral tribunal. So this is very, very important thing which has minimized the timelines to adopt the arbitration proceedings. And also there were the recent amendments which has been to 2020 and 2019 also has given from the date of submissions of the both the sides the document, then you can take 1 year for completion. That means it is to take for submission of the documents, claims, and also rejoinders and other things also, it is to take more than 6 months. So what they have said in 2019, they have given a clarity that from the date of submissions you can take 1 full year. So all these kinds of very specifically has given more strength to arbitration. At the same time, for the usage in the insurance sector has not yet started, but there are multiple case laws which, to my notice, where I have been working for last 2-3 days, hundreds of case laws were there, and which I will be able to share with all of you in due course when a larger workshops will be happening. And these kind of things will really help for the arbitration usage, and also the confidentiality and many more things have come up in the due amendments of 2019 and 2020. And I think the insurance sector, which was largely neglected in the usage of arbitration, have now got into focus. And I thank you organizers AIIRM and my parent organization SADARE for giving this opportunity to speak on this subject today. And my colleagues will be able to take you through 2019 and 2020 amendments. If any question in due course, you can ask me. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Murthy. You talked about the transparency which has been brought in through these amendments, and also about timelines and so many other things. I just had one small question. Now, there are many contracts where it's a named person. A person is named in the contract itself. He could be by designation. So it could be the chief engineer of XYZ, organization. Now, what happens in such cases? Because you said that this is something which now is prohibited. So does it mean that all such contracts will be not valid?
Sir, very frank with you, by putting the name, for example, JLN Murthy, it is a fatal, because putting the name, the person exists or person may passed away. So this kind of situations, it's a worst scenario. But as you said, the designation general manager or the director or the CEO who has been made as the part of the clause in the arbitration in the agreement, they can use from the different company as a general manager of the insurance company. So the option is available for them to use from the other company of the insurance companies, or they can go to the court and file a section 11 application in the court, and automatically the court will give the permission, or they may refer to the institutional arbitration like SADARE.
Okay, thank you. That clarifies the position, because this is a very common thing, especially in government contracts. It keeps coming up. We have with us Mr. Mithilesh Sinha, who is practicing as an advocate in various consumer courts in Delhi. He's had more than 35 years of experience in the insurance industry and retired from Oriental Insurance as a chief regional manager, and has qualifications in science, law, and insurance. He is also a faculty for various institutions. Mr. Sinha, this latest amendment, of course, strikes it down. But what are the qualifications which were prescribed for becoming an arbitrator? Certain earlier on there were no qualifications, but now in 2019 they brought in these qualifications. what are the qualifications prescribed?
Thank you, Vijay sir. Am I audible?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Vijay sir. Going into the Arbitration Act, and why is there an arbitration clause in almost all our policies? This is at times intrigues certain people who are academicians. Well, according to Section 7 of the Arbitration Act, which is still there, it was there in 1996, it is still there. Nobody can be made to submit for arbitration without his consent. And this consent can come through, has to be a written consent. It can come through a special agreement. It can come through a special clause in the contract, or it may be induced from different kinds of correspondences or literature in the organization. But it has to be a written kind of agreement that I am ready to submit to arbitration. And that is why this clause is there in our almost all the policies. As Mr. Jalan Murthy has said, that the Arbitration Act came into being in effect in the year 1940, but prior to that, there was an Arbitration Act, first Indian Arbitration Act of 1899, which naturally evolved, and gradual evolution from enactment of incomplete regulations in 1899 to the enactment of substantive regulation in the year 1996, which has been further made more effective by the amendment in 2019 and now again in 2020. The main purpose of the main changes which came through by the amendment of the 1990 Act is that there is a special provision for having one Advisory Council of India. And this Advisory Council of India is very important as far as arbitration is concerned. That is the organization which will make arbitrators in a way and then recommend to the courts to be made as an arbitral institution. So now from an individual mode of arbitration, we have come to institutional mode of arbitration. In the earlier, according to the extant provisions of the arbitration in our policies, each of the parties are given an option to appoint an arbitrator, and at times when there is no agreement, the party goes to the court and the court appoints an arbitrator. And this Arbitration Act is evolving on these lines, that the court should not be involved in small things as well. And this coming in of the institutional mode of arbitration, this problem will maybe it will be taken care of. Now the Advisory Council is also there to bring the act, the rules, the procedure in conformity with the international practices. It was because of there was a lot of differences between the international practice and the Indian practice that the arbitration was not very popular among the international nations or the international parties to the disputes. So now, since there have been changes, and the main reason was delay. There was substantive delay in coming to the award. Now with, as Mr. Jalan Murthy has very clearly elucidated, that now this has been taken care of by providing timelines. So once these timelines are implemented by the government in true spirit, then I think we should be at par with the international arbitral institution or the procedures. And one of the main pillars of making it in conformity with the international procedure or standards was to have a qualification for arbitrators, and separate Schedule 8 was given, you can say was introduced in the amended act, to give a qualification as to who can become an arbitrator. And such qualifications are, of course, many. And what I say is that any person who has got some experience, who can read or write, who's got some minimum qualification, can become an arbitrator. But according to the Act, there are at least 9 qualifications for a person to become an arbitrator. First one you can say is advocate, according to the Advocate Act, with practice experience of 10 years. Similarly, a chartered accountant with, as per the Chartered Accountants Act, with experience of 10 years. So cost accountant, so company secretary. Then any officer of the Indian legal service can become an arbitrator. Then any officer with a law degree and with 10 years experience in legal matters, either in the government, in autonomous bodies, in public sector, or even in private sector, can also become, or can be qualified to become an arbitrator. An officer with an engineering degree with 10 years experience, medical degree with 10 years experience, and so on. They all qualify to become an arbitrator. There are other minor things also, but now since the amendment of 4th November 2020, this schedule has been removed. The Act has been amended to remove this 8th schedule with the mention that the qualification will be or can be made again through regulations. Now, who will make these regulations? Maybe the advisory in the Arbitration Council of India, or maybe some other institution. But for the current time, this is no more there. So this is as regards the qualifications. Now it is, earlier the arbitrators were being appointed by the parties themselves. Once this institutional mode of arbitration will come through, there will be a panel of arbitral institutions maintained by the high courts of different states as far as Indian arbitration is concerned, and by the Supreme Court of India as far as international arbitration is concerned. So maybe with these changes, we hope that now we will come up to the international standards as far as arbitration is concerned. Thank you. Any questions?
I was just wondering whether the qualifications which had been prescribed under Schedule 8 was heavily weighted in favor of legal persons. I mean, persons with a legal background. Mr.
Exactly.
Would you also
exactly.
like
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Mithilesh, please.
Exactly, that is not so, because a doctor, an engineer, a chartered accountant, or any other officer who is having a particular experience and are up to the standard, they could become. But because it has come through a legislation, an act, it is a law. Nobody could bring about any change in the provisions. So it had to be strictly implemented. But now, since it has been removed from the schedule of the act, and maybe there is a regulation, it will be slightly more lenient for future use. That is all I can say now. Let's see what happens in future.
Mr. Murthy, would you like to share your thoughts on it? Mike.
You are mute, sir. Your mic is mute.
By removing the 8th schedule, they may be thinking largely for a quality people as an arbitrator. Why I am looking at it, sir, I think just now sir also discussing about the usage of lawyer as more intent as an arbitrator. See, that need to be removed. Why? Because I have an ego with engineers, very techno-legal engineers, very specifically they are more competent than us because they have the legal engineering side knowledge with them. So tomorrow, I think this Arbitration Council of India may bring a certification kind of a thing. That means grading or something like that. What I have my view when we had discussed in earlier forums, that they are going to have a standard. The people, those who are coming as incoming as an arbitrator, maybe the qualification will remain as a 10 years or not, we do not know. But I think in a larger scale, they may bring it in a standard-wise certification. Those who are able to be a qualified arbitrator, then only they will be grading them, and so that the people, those who are delivering the judgments in the arbitration, will not be failing, and people again going back to the people will be looking at this Arbitration Council of India in grading the arbitrators by reviewing the schedule. So I look, the future is very bright, and the training, certain trainings by the institutions like SADARE and all AIIRM, all these institutions will come into as a focus and will become certainly a standard for becoming an arbitrators. I can proudly say that yes, I work for SADARE and I am a proud arbitrator through SADARE now. So like this, the people will come with a larger institutions for grading themselves, and I believe that in belief of having a good arbitrators will be there in future, sir.
Thank you. Just taking the cue from that, this, in ancient Indian system also, there used to be the concept of trainees who were actually experts in a particular field, and they used to be the arbiters in case of a dispute in a particular field. So having extra weightage for legal, because it's a legal contract, no doubt, contracts are always legal, there's a legality involved, but expertise in a particular field also is required, and perhaps that also needs to be given equal weightage. So that was what I had in mind, and I'm sure you'll agree with it. Your voice is not coming.
For example, if you take,
you're on mute.
Mute.
If you take, people are coming from different avenues in their life. So we are little bit lawyers, we will always say, sorry to the my brothers in this forum, that we will always say that we know everything. So people also think that the lawyers knows everything. But if you come to the technicalities, if you come to the realities of the ground level, we have to learn from you only. So that means I do not say that lawyers are the upper hand, but yes, whenever there is some law comes, we will only try to interpret that first. Whether we know or not, we will first interpret. But at the same time, there are people who are there, much more knowledge in the different avenues with us, and please don't mistake lawyers as the competent persons as an arbitrator or a legal counsel. I have a good friends who are techno-legal, insurance people, all these people who are there, joined today also in this forum from Vizag. So all these people are able to have a competent knowledge, and very specifically, we have my good friend here in this, Asadullah Pasha sir also.
Thank you.
So one more point I wanted to make, since we are coming through a platform of AIIRM and SADARE, we are the people who are competent to train both sides. People who are good in legal, we can train them in insurance. And people who are technically sound, but they need to have legal competence, that also can be trained through various types of courses. So people who may be interested in taking a course either with SADARE or with AIIRM, they are also welcome, and they may choose to do it either from there or from AIIRM. That is what I wanted to point out. We are competent to give a proper training for them to be first registered as an arbitrator by the courts through advisory council, and then to be appointed as arbitrator wherever they are required. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Mallikarjun, one small question to you.
Yes, sir.
We were talking about grievances and the status of grievances of the insurance industry. What would be in terms of numbers under the different systems, grievance redressal systems in the insurance industry? Would you be able to comment on it?
Sure, sir. The total consolidation in grievances in insurance, the beautiful thing is IRDA has an insurance integrated grievance management system where all the grievances that are there relating to the insurance sector in India are captured. And if you look at the total number of complaints that have been handled in the last year, you will find that there are 1,63,264 complaints which were reported in 2018-19 and 42,000 complaints which were there in the non-life. So there are number of life complaints are more, and LIC has about 1,02,000 complaints. All the private life insurers have 61,000 complaints. So total life complaints are 1,63,000. Then in case of private in general insurance, the public general insurance have 21,000 complaints, while the private insurers have 42,000 complaints. So a total of 42,000 complaints overall. So about 2 lakh complaints is the volume of complaints that are there. This is as far as the grievance system is concerned. That is the first stage at the insurer level, escalation within the insurer, and then a reporting of complaint at IRDA or escalation to IRDA through IRDA. The second thing is in relation to insurance ombudsman and what are the number of complaints that are there in insurance ombudsman. Last year there were 22,300 in 2018-19. About 22,700 complaints were received. There was a backlog which were there and 21,000 complaints were disposed of. Here also the number of live complaints happened to be 11,000, while the non-life complaints are very close in the form of 10,800. The problem in case of higher insurance ombudsman is there were 17 offices, but at no point of time there were all the 17 people who were appointed there. This is the first time that you see that all the 17 appointments have been made and the office is fully functional. So now we expect the total number of outstanding complaints as of 2019 was about 11,000, which is almost 30%. But with the insurance ombudsman being there now, I think you will have a mechanism where the speeding up of grievances handling will be there at the insurance ombudsman, and we will be in a position to see very fast disposal at the ombudsman level. But the numbers are relatively maybe 30,000 complaints at the handling capacity is about 25,000 complaints. In case of insurance sector, it's about 2 lakhs. It is hovering around that in the past 3 or 4 years only.
So that means the numbers are almost the same in the last few years.
Yes, there's been a relative, what is it? It's reached a plateau probably.
In fact, recently I was reading an article about mis-selling grievances having come down substantially from 2012 to 2020. I think that's a good sign, at least on the underwriting side. That means things are happening properly. There is more streamlining.
Yes.
One more thing, which I'll throw it open to all the panelists, is about the type of insurance. There are different portfolios. You have fire, marine, miscellaneous, different types of miscellaneous policies, motor, health, and all that. While substantial premium comes from health and motor, arbitration comes essentially only in fire and engineering, and maybe to a less extent in liability or some aspects of miscellaneous insurance. What do you think could be the reason? Why is it health and this motor do not really contribute much towards arbitration? Why do people not go there? Any thoughts on it?
Primarily, the problems in relation, I'll give you my take on it, depending upon my experience being in the consumer affairs, etc. The problem in relation to health insurance is basically the amount of money that you think you are going to get that may not be paid, or there could be exclusions which are being pressed by the insurer for handling the complaints. And the maximum amount of health insurance benefit that is being given, it is never more than 30 lakhs. So most of the complaints relating to health insurance get sorted out either at the insurer level or they go for the insurance ombudsman because they are retail policies or group policies, and they get sorted at the insurance ombudsman level. In case of motor policies also, basically, other than maybe a Ferrari or some other thing, there will not be a case where you will have about 30 lakh, 40 lakh. So in those kind of cases also, the retail OD claims will be handled basically by the insurer, and then there is a scope for taking it up with the insurance ombudsman. And only large claims, if the value is more than 30 lakhs and the refusal happens, it is at that time that arbitration probably would get triggered. So that is the reason why I personally feel that there is very little scope of playing or disputes being settled through arbitration. It is either you get the claim or you don't, or there is a problem in relation to understanding about the terms in case of health as well as motor policies, which result in problem. The other major chunk of motor claims are relating to what is it? The third party claims, and they will have to be settled through the MICT. There is no scope for arbitration there. This is my take, so other friends would have their own views about it.
Would you like to say something on it, Mr. Mithilesh? Unmute yourself, please.
Whatever Dr. Mallikarjun has said is, I agree with his take. But one thing which will come after this act is maybe our that arbitration agreement may have to be amended drastically. Maybe now when people find that they are not getting the claim which they are getting mostly in motor and health, you see the number of claims in the consumer courts are more on motor and health. So people choose that. That is also a very convenient mode. Not much money is required to be paid there. But the main purpose of this act would now be to absolve the courts as much as possible from solving mere these disputes, consumer disputes. So once maybe some changes are made in our agreement, maybe the person, instead of going to the consumer court, would first like to go into arbitration, or maybe he will be forced to go into arbitration. And secondly, because this arbitration clause is not very well known to the public at large. In fact, 90% of the policy terms and conditions are not well known to the people, but they know the courts, they know consumer courts, chalo court. So that is another reason why people do not go into arbitration. In smaller cases, they go directly to the court. That is what my feeling is.
Thank you. Mr. Murthy, would you like to say something on this as a arbitrator who has experience in various fields?
What I found in a larger extent, being also as a trainer in the arbitration side, very frank with you, sir, the judges themselves do not know that there is an arbitration proceedings. Very frank with you, the judges post-retirement, that means after 65 years of the retirement, then only they will know that there is an arbitration act. Then only they will think that this is an avenue for us, for our complete ending of end of our life. Now we should start being a person who has been designated as a judge in front of their name. They will start doing the arbitrations without even knowing the arbitration proceedings. At least the public sector, multinationals, private companies, individuals knows about the arbitration, because I generally train from Supreme Court judges to the lower court judges. Very frank, they will tell me that we do not know this kind of procedure is there also. So we need to educate, we need to bring the public to understand. So that is also primarily our responsibility. And today, when AIIRM and SADARE is doing a wonderful job, and I am also being part of them, and I think this kind of an awareness programs will clearly give people, very specifically if you see the competitive countries, smaller countries, Singapore, Hong Kong, Indonesia, Malaysia, they have a very vibrant usage of arbitration there. First you do the arbitration, then you come back to the court. So that means we have to make it the insurance sector, very specifically, which are not concentrated more on the arbitration side also, need to bring into that particular loop and see that through IRDA that we need to get all the issues resolved. And I think it is also our primary duty to educate all the people.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I think it's good. So we come, before we come to the final mistake, can we have some closing comments from each one? Dr. Mallikarjun.
Mr. Vijay,
1 minute.
Mr. Vijay.
Yeah. Tell me, Mr.
Vijay.
Masud sir.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something to this aspect of why arbitration is not being used in the insurance industry. Apart from whatever Dr. Malika Arjun has said, that redressal channels, and I mean, they are working quite all right. But still, a lot of people are, I mean, as Mr. Murthy has rightly said, are not aware of arbitration, both from the side of the people who are taking insurance and both from the side of the people who are in the insurance industry. People working in the insurance industry, frankly speaking, I have spent 36 years in the insurance industry, and I know that people are not exactly aware that how this arbitration works. And you can imagine the people who are taking the insurance policy from the insurance companies, they also, I mean, no one tells them that there is an arbitration. And today what's happening in health sector is that despite the policy having a very clear terms and conditions and exclusions, one area of dispute today in health sector is these consumables, which is being, I mean, almost at times 20-25% of the total treatment cost in a hospital, and that most of the companies are not paying. And recently, Supreme Court has come out with a directive to the government that they should tell the insurance company not to deduct so much of money from the health insurance claims. Now, these disputes, I'm sure, are not going to be settled by the ombudsman for the simple reason that in the, I mean, our ombudsmen, most of them are not from the insurance background. Very few of them are from the insurance background, despite the fact that we have secretaries and deputy secretaries from the insurance sector. My experience in the insurance industry with the ombudsman was that most of the time, they're also not interpreting the policies in a proper manner. I mean, arbitration is another thing. And as far as these consumer courts, my experience again with the consumer courts is the same as Mr. Murthy is saying, that most of the people who are there on the, I mean, panels, I mean, who are there in the consumer courts, whether they are judges or whether they are from other areas who are there not on the panel, they also don't know insurance. They don't know, I mean, how things work in insurance claims. And I have been going to the insurance courts, I mean, to these consumer courts while I was in service. And I found that these judges and these people who are associated with the dispute resolution at the consumer courts, they were very happy that insurers are coming and talking to them. Now, people at large who are affected by a claim settlement where a large chunk, I mean, big chunk of money, even if it's 10 lakhs, and say 2 lakhs have been deducted in a health insurance claim, and in a motor insurance claim, there also, I mean, the amount is disputed. Mr. Pasha, I mean, of course, he's not here now, but he had told me his own case where, I mean, one of the private insurance company deducted a large chunk of money, and despite him being an advocate, he was not able to get the, I mean, kind of this thing, you know, claim which he was thinking. So there is always a dispute because in India, the largest insurance in general sector is health insurance and motor insurance. And these are the two areas where people have a general complaint that insurance kara lenge, claim pata nahi milega ke nahi milega. So they are not satisfied with the settlement of claim. And unfortunately in India, most of the insurance companies, they're very happy repudiating a claim where there is a dispute. So I personally feel that if arbitration is really practiced, and we have people who can practice arbitration, who have the necessary knowledge to practice arbitration, the last section of people, the common armed janta who is taking a health insurance policy and who is taking a motor insurance policy, they will be benefited. Because till now it is all the big clients who are coming for arbitration. No one comes in, the smaller clients. And going to even to a consumer court and going to an ombudsman, I mean, has a lot of steps have been taken. Whereas arbitration is a much simpler process, provided we start telling people how it works. That is my take on the whole thing. Thanks.
Thank you. That was a new insight, different insight on the whole process. I would just like you to, there's a question from one Mr. Harshal Shah. Perhaps you can, talk about it. When he says, when can we reach arbitrators in fire insurance? And in, especially when it comes to Tier 3 and 4 cities, surveyors are dominant and biased. So how do we go to an arbitrator?
You want me to take that question? Or?
Yeah, you take the question.
See, basically, in any claim, I mean, in fire insurance claim, basically there is a lot of give and take when the quantum of claim is being discussed, and of course the surveyors are there who are discussing. Not surveyors are discussing between the insurance companies, and surveyors are discussing with the client, and they try to arrive at a consensus that this is the amount of claim which can be paid. Basically, insurance companies have to take a call on that, at how much claim we have to pay. And if the insured feels that the assessment of loss is not fair, and if they feel that they are not going to get a just deal, then that is the time they have to invoke the arbitration condition. They can very well send a notice to the insurance companies invoking the condition under the policy, and thereafter it will take over. But that I feel most of the people are not aware of that. Hello.
Yeah.
There is something I wish to point out.
Yes,
I wish to point out
Yeah.
here that we all know what kind of surveys we have in practice, but the insurance company, the officers in the insurance company should also get involved. The moment the person comes and says that the surveyor is only giving this much amount, the officer of the insurance company should take up the matter with the surveyor and see that a just settlement is made by the surveyor. If that is not done, even the surveyors know that his report is quite sacrosanct. Once his report even goes to the court also says that unless somebody disputes with the assessment made by the surveyor and gives cogent reasons, that report assessment cannot be changed. They know about that. So it is prior to going to the court that the company should get involved and try to have a proper settlement with the surveyor as well as the party. Unless that is done, because the parties do not know much about the Arbitration Act, and the insurance company hardly ever invokes this clause. So what is important is that the insurance company should get involved and try to have the matter resolved, and also point out, like we write in the policies, that in case you're not satisfied, you can go to the ombudsman. Here is his address and the phone number. Similarly, there should be some kind of stamped document, although it is there in the policy, to draw the attention of the smaller consumers. Thank you. That was all.
Thank you. And then there is a query whether what is the percentage of other cases of arbitration and reinsurance also. He wants to know whether there have been any instances.
That you can only say, Vijay sir.
Well,
please send some light on this.
Yeah, it's see, arbitration is practiced, but so far what happens is it is generally sorted out. Reinsurers are a different breed altogether. They don't get into major litigations, and they try to sort out the matter. And to my knowledge, I have not seen any Indian company having had any reinsurance arbitration. Arbitrations are there for claims, for big claims and all. There have been arbitrations, sometimes running into hundreds of crores or thousands of crores also. But this has not seen companies going in, or the reinsurers going in for arbitration with Indian companies. Abroad, I'm not too sure. We'll have to check it out. And then there is a query, perhaps Dr. Mallikarjun can take it, about is the percentage of arbitration cases to the total number of grievances. Any idea?
So there is no data in relation to that, sir.
Not being.
We don't have a data in relation to that.
Ah.
So the only effort that has been taken is to consolidate the grievances. But what happens from there? We have only one channel where it gets pooled, that is ombudsman. But we have data relating to what happens in how many cases are there in the consumer forums, etc. But we don't have any data in relation to, or any reporting mechanism relating to arbitrations taking recourse for. Maybe it's time for IRDA to come out with some return which captures this mechanism of maybe there are two returns actually relating to grievances, L41 and NL41. So those need to be modified to indicate what is the level of arbitration's involvement as well.
Then one more query has come from one Mr. Naresh. He says, is there a guideline to have a standard arbitration clause, because it is allowing a lot of interpretation and interference of courts?
Sir, as far as what is it, standard health policy, which they have come out relating to Arogya Sanjeevani, that is the title that is given. In that, they have indicated the arbitration clause also. And unfortunately, the arbitration clause says that it is only in relation to quantum disputes that the arbitration can be triggered, but not relating to the repudiation. So, if you want to look at one model where standardization has happened, that is the model. And I personally feel that that is not the right kind of a model. You should have a mechanism where there has to be arbitration for any aspect and leave it to them to find the way out. Ultimately, it's a contractual transaction that they are entering into. Provide the scope for all aspects to be arbitrated upon. And as we have seen, the tendency to reject complaints is more because they don't want the arbitration to be triggered. I interpret it that way. Where there is small chatti, what is it? 21-20 ka farak, where they can indicate, they will take the repudiation clause because that will make it easier for them not to be get into arbitration. That is my reading, but I may be wrong. But as far as standard clauses are concerned, they have not attempted it for any other kinds of insurance, but only for health there is a clause.
Thank you.
But your question was slightly different. They are concerned, can there be a standard arbitration clause incorporated in the policy? I think now onwards there may be, because now it is going to expedite the process, and that such kind of condition will have to be incorporated in the insurance policies. That is my take. Jalan Murthy Sahab will.
I agree with you, the standard clause, but still, I believe that people are doing the arbitrations in the insurance companies. Very specifically, the question, Mr. Naresh, who is my alumni of ICAIR, he is a legal officer from the insurance company. He is doing a wonderful job of doing the arbitrations in the insurance company, and I believe he has been practicing on arbitration side also. But yes, sir, through his article only, I came to know that there are many more arbitrations are going on, and many insurance companies are getting involved, and there are many case laws which we will take in detailed discussion in session wise. And I think the belief of sir, I think in future is going to be arbitration is completely get adopted in all the insurance companies.
Thank you. Now there is one question again from Mr. Naresh. Does an ex-employee of an organization be arbitrator, and whether it can be challenged after the award is passed? Mr. Murthy, would you like to say anything? I think you have already answered it, but
yes.
Then.
Yes, sir. An ex-employee of any insurance company can become an arbitrator, provided I think the 3 years, if it is a public sector or government sector, provided 3 years passage time is there. I don't think if they get no objection for that also, immediately after the retirement also they can do it. And I don't think the challenge cannot be made after the award is being pronounced. If the award is being pronounced before the first initiation in the first hearing only, they should come out with that. If they are coming out after the award is being pronounced, means I think it is completely negative against the contesting party. It is going to become.
And as far as the coming in of the arbitral institution, now it will be done through an arbitral institution. So an ex-employee or a Falana employee will have to be taken care of at the time of making that panel.
Yes.
So it has to be uniform now. There will be no scope.
There is one more question which says that insurance arbitration clauses talk only about quantum, not about liability. That is not permitted. So is there a possibility to include liability also?
Yes, sir. When we come across doing the arbitration proceedings, even if you go to any rules of the government also, the liability, the quantum is okay. When you have mentioned the quantum, it is on the side of the arbitrator to decide the liability part of it. Because, for example, if you take interest, if you take the recent amendments, interest also can be calculated. So once that award is been given, the insurance company will not deny on that particular part. No, it is on the quantum. You cannot say no to the liability part of it. Insurance company has to accept that, or else he will come through the EP petition and take the liability here from the government.
Any thoughts others on the subject?
Pardon?
I said, any thoughts on this aspect?
I remember my very olden days when I was an AO or AM. One of the courts, because of their naivety, because of their ignorance, it came out with a decision that even in case that you have repudiated the claim, I take it as the entire amount is in dispute. So he can go into arbitration. So now I think we will be coming back to the same era. Anything can be arbitrated. So in effect, somebody was saying, one of our esteemed faculty some last time, that why can't a condition be arbitrated? Well, that ultimately comes to the soda between the customer and the seller, that it has to be an agreement by negotiation. That means tailor-made policies would come into vogue more often than not. That is my take on this.
That is a valid point. Tailor-made policies would be come into greater amount of arbitration than other policies.
Right. That is what I feel.
Yes. So I think that takes care of all the questions which have come up. And coming to the end of the session, perhaps a quick round comment from each one of the panelists, starting with Dr. Mallikarjun.
As far as I'm a very vocal consumer advocate, so the point that I want to make is awareness is a very important aspect that needs to be taken care of, and awareness in terms of the benefit of insurance, should not be something that has to be shoved down someone's throat through mis-selling, etc. So people have to go and buy insurance, and intermediaries have a lot to do in relation to that. Second is awareness relating to the policyholder protection regulations that is there. Third, awareness relating to the ombudsman scheme as an alternate redressal. Fourth, awareness that there is an arbitration clause and how to go about it. So if these four things are taken care of, I think we can double or triple the quantity of insurance that is there in the system and provide benefit and protection to a lot of people. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Murthy? Please unmute yourself.
I totally agree with the views of Mr. Mallikarjun and others also in this particular forum. Yes, the awareness is very, very important, and very specifically when we argue before the courts, then when we go to the Lok Adalat, it is only the negotiation. So that's what happening, and I think the scenario should change, and the person, those who are contesting against his claim, should get a justification on his claim and justified order for him. I think the future is going to be there. I think the institutions like this, AIIRM and SADARE and other institutions also should take up insurance as a special arbitration site. And I think most of the consumers will be benefited, and it will be automatically appreciated. Why? Because once the consumer gets the need of his judgment properly and his claim properly, then automatically he will come back and renew the policies, and he will take more policies on this. I think I leave it to this forum to take up different educational programs, and also you are all the luminaries in the insurance side, and I have seen only one person until today from Hyderabad other than Asauddin Pasha sir, and others may be there, including Naresh, who just questioned few things, who is strictly doing the arbitration proceedings, and we should go ahead and do many more arbitrations in this site. I am there with you all.
Thank you. Mr. Sinha?
Well, as we are all aware that the premium in insurance is very minuscule as compared to the developed countries. So we are always onto the thing that there is lack of awareness, there is lack of insurance penetration. Together with this, if these things increase, the awareness about arbitration and other legal methods will also increase. Moreover, I was about to say something. I think that is the take. The awareness has to be increased at all levels. Even the judges, if there is a way in which they can be trained, as Mr. Murthy has said, they can be trained on insurance. And prior to the present form of consumer courts, where there are many cases of different sides and mainly of the real estate. Prior to the coming in of the real estate disputes, the bread and butter of the courts in consumer court was from insurance claims. 80% of the cases pending in the consumer courts were insurance claims. Now the real estate claims have overtaken it. So unless there is some kind of education, awareness is increased, the numbers will keep on increasing. But now if there is a change in the arbitration clause and maybe leading to change in the people who can go to court, this may come down. And for this purpose, an arbitrator has to be expert in the law as well as the technicalities.
Thank you. Any quick comment from you, Mr. Masood? Mr. Masood?
Unmute.
Unmute, please.
Unmute.
Vijay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Any quick
Before I
comment
say
from you?
anything, actually I've got.
Before we wind
Before
up.
I say give any comment, one sec. Before I say anything, I've got a message on my WhatsApp. This is from one of the participants, Mr. V.K. Gupta, engineer, who is aware of 45 years. He says that his question has not taken, and his question is, what is the law when the insured gives consent on assessment and still wants to go for arbitration after taking claim? I'll repeat the question. His question is, what is the law when the insured gives consent on assessment and still wants to go for arbitration after taking claim? I feel Mr. Murthy is the right person to answer this question. But anyway, Vijay, it's up to you. Have you got the question?
Yeah, Mr. Murthy, would you like to?
Sir, the assessment, before taking into the assessment, yes, I do agree with, if it is there as in the contract as an arbitration, a clause is there, or if it is not existing also, even both the parties agree. Before doing the assessment, if they write in a white paper that we would like to go for a arbitration in this, even the court cannot deny them that they should accept that the arbitration proceedings can be done. I think this particular solution will be available those who are not having the arbitration as a clause. So that means the quantum in the assessing may come lower amount or higher amount, but I think before revoking to the assessing part of it, before getting into the assessing part of it, if they revoke an arbitration clause, it will be much beneficial for both the parties, sir.
Can I come on this?
Yeah.
See, once you have given a consent, like the consumers also give a consent to the insurance companies, but he can still go to the court. Probably IRDA has also come out with some kind of notification that, what do you call that? That voucher. What is that voucher? Discharge voucher. Discharge voucher, if there is, the assessment is not just, and if it appears that he has been coerced to give his consent, otherwise he would not have gone that small chunk of a claim amount if he did not give that consent. So still he can go to the court. Taking a cue from that, since what is the question of that surveyor, I have not come across in my 35 years of service, so it appears to me a hypothetical question, but that same thing can be sui generis taken over for the arbitration clause. So the most important thing is that the assessment should be just. Unless it is just, the courts are always open. Whether you go to the arbitration or not, whether you are eligible to go for arbitration or not, you can always go to the consumer court.
Yes, that's the position. In fact, there have been cases where after taking the claim, as people have been going in for arbitration, sending notices of arbitration. And it's not only individuals, even big corporates have done this. So I'm aware of cases where corporates who have taken the claim after giving a discharge voucher quietly go and go for an arbitration clause. And then sometimes people miss out and agree to it and not. So in the case of an individual, there could be case of coercion. But when it comes to a big corporate, I mean, where does the coercion come? Anyway, these are questions which need to be tested on a case-by-case basis.
Case by case.
I have a small answer, a quick answer for this this gentleman. Sir, recently the Consumer Protection Act has been amended. In that, mediation is there. So every state has to notify the mediation of the Consumer Protection Act, new amendment act. If that particular state where that person is staying, if it is notified in the Consumer Act itself, when he is filing his petition in the consumer court, then the solution for him is the best usage is mediation. So either way, if it is arbitration or mediation, mediation is always better than the better method for him to get his issue resolved.
Thank you.
Right, sir. But one, you have to go to the consumer court first. Make an application to the consumer court, and then it will send the case to the mediation. Can he go directly or not? That still is a
Application has to be made to the consumer.
yes. Right, sir.
But at the first stage itself, it can be taken to it even before they entertain the complaint and go into it. They can send it across to mediation. That is how it is there. And there also it has to be agreed by both the parties. If there are both the parties are not agreeable to it, it cannot go for mediation.
That is in the first hearing.
Yes.
So the application is taken cognizance of, and both the parties are sent notices to come and contest. Then you can say, yes, I want to go to mediation. I agree to go to the mediation. So that is the difference.
Yeah, thank you. So it's been an interesting session, and we've had details about arbitration, on how the government is keen on seeing to it that arbitration becomes a major method of settling grievance disputes. And the government has amended the act quite a few times in the recent past to make it quick and workable, set in transparency norms, and brought in time frames also to see that this is taken care of immediately. And there's a move to make India as a major hub for arbitration also. We have also seen how arbitration has operated in insurance, and the suggestions have come as to how it can be made viable and more effective in all lines of insurances. Maybe this forum can take it up subsequently and take it up with the appropriate authorities. I thank all my panelists for their excellent insights into all the aspects which they have come up with. I thank the participants for being part of this occasion, and persons who have raised good questions also. And with this, I hand over the session to Mr. Masood Wahab, who will talk about other aspects about the course which is being conducted. Over to you, Mr. Masood.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vijay Srinivas, for taking the speakers as well as all the participants through the whole webinar and this aspect of arbitration and how it can be used in insurance, especially by the insurance sector. Frankly speaking, in India, insurance companies shy away from arbitration, and people are not aware about arbitration. Now, bringing about a change in the arbitration condition under the policy is the need of the hour. But till such time, the existing arbitration conditions in the policies has to be implemented. Now, who will implement it? Who will use this? That is a moot question. That's a big question. In India, the one problem which we are facing as insurer, as insured, is that there are hardly any people who can be arbitrators in insurance. We are aware that from the legal fraternity, there are not even 1% of the people who are having a very good knowledge of insurance. And from the insurance sector, I mean, that even 1% is not there who are like having good knowledge of insurance, but they have can use it in arbitration or in the legal sense. So there is a need for creating a cadre of insurance arbitrators in India. And as the new act is under implementation, I would say, so we will get new regulations coming. And one aspect is very clear that there has to be an arbitral institution. And we, ASEAN Institute of Insurance and Risk Management, we plan to be that. We, as soon as the fresh regulations are going to come, we are going to go for that status of being the arbitral institution as far as insurance is concerned. Of course, there are some very renowned institutions who are into arbitration, but especially for insurance, we, ASEAN Institute of Insurance Risk Management, we will all like to become the arbitral institution of India. And we definitely want to create a cadre of people, whether from the insurance sector or from the legal sector, legal side, to become insurance arbitrators. And for that, they should be, I mean, not just qualified through, I mean, working in the insurance companies or working in the legal side, but they should have the knowledge of insurance from a legal aspect. We have been dealing with claims, we have been dealing with underwriting and insurance, I mean, without exactly looking at the legal aspects of insurance. So we have created a certificate course, which we are going, which we want people to take up to actually get the sense of being an arbitrator in insurance. And this certificate course, we have planned in a manner in which we'll have three clear areas which we like to cover through the certificate course. One is the legal aspects of insurance. So when I say legal aspects of insurance, it means we are talking about the various policies, terms and conditions. We have to talk about the design of the contract. Then we have to look at how these terms, condition, exclusions are, they are working in the light of the fundamental principles of insurance. Because an insurance contract is not a simple contract, it is a special contract. And in this, the fundamental principles of insurance come into play. So all these terms, condition, exclusion, everything are basically based on the fundamental principles. Then we have this process of this online and offline underwriting, and what is the legal significance of various documents. Then the inspection, appraisal of risk, quantification and rating of risk. So all these aspects we'll be trying to cover in the legal aspects of insurance. So we'll have one part of this certificate course will be dealing in legal aspects of insurance, which will be almost, we'll be giving a lot of time to this. So almost 100 hours will be required for this. And then the second part will be the insurance claim settlement process. So that is the actual problem in arbitration. People have to understand how a claim settlement process is there. Whether, if it's the person is from the insurance sector, he may be knowing about it, but if it's from legal sector, he's got to understand the whole process. So in this, we have to understand what is the claim process and its legal implementation. Right from the word you get a letter or you get intimation of a claim. Right from that till the time a final letter of either a claim settlement or a claim repudiation is issued. The legal implication of every document has to be understood. Then how the terms, conditions and everything is like interpreted, how they have to be interpreted, to decide a claim. Then you have to also have this knowledge of establishing the authenticity of claim and its quantum through the process of inspection, investigation, survey, quantification and adjustment. So we have people who are risk inspectors, we have these investigators, we have surveyors, we have adjusters. So all this aspect, we have to legal implications of this has to be understood. Then we have to understood that how do we deal with a fraudulent claim, and then the quantum of loss if it is disputed, and then the legal fallout of disputes or reputed claims. So all these aspects we will be discussing in the insurance claim settlement process, which again will be 100-hour sessions. 100 hours we want to give in this. So, and then the last thing and the most important thing is the laws governing insurance in India. So we have a lot of laws which are impacting insurance contract in India. We have international laws and practices which are impacting insurance practices in India. We have insurance laws and important court judgments of SC and foreign courts. So insurance laws, especially the Marine Insurance Act in India, hardly anyone knows about Marine Insurance Act, which actually is the basis of insurance contract in India. The Insurance Act, most of the people know about the Insurance Act, but the contract of insurance is basically based on the Marine Insurance Act of India, which most of the people are not aware of. Then we have to understand this alternative claims dispute resolution forum. We have to understand about the Arbitration Act and its effect on insurance contract. Then the role and responsibility of an arbitrator and his legal status in the eyes of law, and practical aspects of arbitration in insurance and its processes. Now, all this, this again, we are going to give 100 hours for this. So total 300 hours we'll be spending on this certificate course, which will be spread over a duration of 6 months. And in this, we will be having theory classes will be less. There will be a lot of practice classes. There will be a lot of mock sessions. There will be a lot of case studies. And basically, this will be for professionals. So we feel that this certificate course has to be done in a very professional manner. So those professionals, legal professionals, insurance professional, any professional who wants to come into this field of insurance arbitration, he has a picture, the legal picture of the way the whole process of insurance actually works. And frankly speaking, this insurance certificate course, why we want to launch it is for the simple reason that we want to have this capacity building in insurance arbitration in India. There are a lot of people very qualified to be insurance arbitrators, but they have to look at an insurance contract from the point of view of the legal aspect, from the point of view of arbitration. So we have to look at an insurance contract from that particular aspect. So we have to build up capacity in India, and to build up capacity in India for arbitration, we want to introduce the certificate course. And we have a date in mind. We want to launch this course from the 10th of January 2021. And we will start registering for people who want to take this course from 1st of December this year. And we will be providing this course online. We will be also providing this course offline. Mr. Pasha has agreed to launch this course from Hyderabad. So Sadri Hyderabad will be launching this course offline. It will be a classroom thing. And in Delhi, we'll be launching this course from Jamia Hamdard. It's a deemed university. ASEAN Institute has a tie-up with Jamia Hamdard, and we are doing an MBA insurance course there. So we will try to launch this offline course from Jamia Hamdard. And of course, we will be providing this course online. We are working on the cost, how much cost it will involve, so that we'll let you know what are the fees and all that. Of course, we'll definitely keep it very moderate. But our intention is that as an institution since last so many years, we want insurance industry to grow. And one of the ways which we feel it can grow is through practicing this aspect of arbitration, so that people will have more faith in the insurance sector. They have this faith that if I have taken an insurance contract, if I have taken an insurance policy, and if there is a genuine claim, I'll get my claim. And if I'm not getting it, there is a forum which is very easy to go to, where there are people who are qualified to deal with my case, and in maybe 2 or 3 sittings, my claim will be cleared. And of course, then there will be more faith in the insurance sector. Today, there is a big lack of faith in the insurance sector. As I am just as an insurer, as a past insurer, I am admitting this, that there is a big lack of faith in the insurance sector. To restore this faith, arbitration, I feel, can be the best this thing, because as Mr. Mitlesh was saying, that insurance companies have to be fair. Because they are not fair, that's why all these alternative dispute resolution systems are being put into practice. And arbitration is one aspect, and we want to introduce this course to build capacity in India. And I hope people will take up this course, despite having spent so much of time in insurance sector, despite having in the practice. I feel this course will give them that capacity, that confidence that can be good arbitrators. This is what I wanted to tell you all. I'm very thankful that all those who have participated today, there was quite a few technical glitches in the beginning, and I feel quite a few people could not join because of those technical glitches. This time we have switched to, last time our webinar was on Google, this time we have switched to Microsoft 365 Teams, because Microsoft 365 Teams we have tied up with Microsoft, and they have given us the recognition as a educational institution, and they have allowed us to give this session, provide. So thank to Microsoft also, but because this is the first time we are doing it on Microsoft, it's a live session which we are doing. So there have been a lot of technical issues involved. I feel that from next time onward, they will not be there. And we have a plan, as Mr. Murthy was suggesting, that every month we'll want to have a legal session, which will discuss all aspects, not just arbitration, other aspects, other legal aspects of insurance. And this is all I have to say. I'm again very thankful to all the panelists. I'm very thankful to Mr. Pasha. I'm very thankful to Mr. Murthy. These two gentlemen have been really a source of not just knowledge to us, but inspiration also. I'm very thankful to our participants from the insurance sector. I'm very thankful to Mr. Mitlesh Sinha. I'm very thankful to Mr. Vijay Srinivas. I'm very thankful to Mr. Malika Arjun. Of course, we have people whom we are not able to, they are on the back of the whole, this thing, they are on the technical team. I'm very thankful to our technical team, including Mr. Ashok Upadhyay, Mr. Saud. I'm very thankful to Mr. Jaffe and other people who are there in the technical team, Ms. Vandana there. And of course, I'm very, very thankful to all the participants who have been patient enough to, despite the technical hiccups, they have joined the session. And we have posted the link for our feedbacks. So my request is that all those who have participated today, kindly send your feedbacks through the link. If you still don't have the, not getting the link, you can send me a message. My WhatsApp phone number is there on the webinar poster which we have circulated. So you can send your this thing request. I'll send you the link again if you're not getting the link. But please give us the feedback. And that feedback is very valuable to us because it gives us an idea of how we have done, how we have fared, and how we have to improve for the next webinars. And we will be issuing certificates to all the participants who will be sending their feedbacks. This is all I have to say. Thank you very much. And let's hope we meet again. Thank you.
From my side, special thanks to Mr. Jalen Murthy and Mr. Pasha. उन्होंने इस वेबिनार में 4 चांद लगा दिया. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
Right, Vijay, we will be
Winding off.
Going offline now. Rest of you, all the participants, if anyone who has not got the link, you can post your question. I hope you all have got the link.
It was a good session, so we'll wind it up here. Thank you.